teams that filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
I know this looks like some old guy with his running mate. Not exactly. This is November 7th. We're past the elections. And Zach, we have a new governor.
Yeah, Jennifer Granholm.
That's right. That really puckers up a lot of sportsmen who think, oh man, she was against the CCW law. One thing she is going to do is she's vowed to put the DNR and the DEQ back together, so we have that big mega agency. Think we ought to talk about that on tonight's show?
No, I think we've had plenty.
We've had plenty. You're right. We'll talk about that some other time. We have Big Spike Night coming up and other things. I'm Fred Trost.
And I'm Zachary Trost.
And you're watching The Practical Sportsman.
Ooh. That's what we've been looking for.
Dateline Cleveland. While few anglers will disagree that Lake St. Clair is a great lake for fishing, many feel that it's one of the most productive lakes in the world. In the 1960s, Morton Neff, who originated Michigan Outdoors TV show, produced a film called The World's Greatest Fish Bowl, which featured Lake St. Clair as the most productive fishing grounds in the world. That being said, the latest bid to name Lake St. Clair as the 6th Great Lake was rejected by the Great Lakes Commission in their recent meeting. A spokesman said that Lake St. Clair already qualifies for federal cleanup funds, and giving it the status as one of the Great Lakes would be inconsistent with history. That doesn't matter to us. As far as we're concerned, Lake St. Clair is still a great lake. Dateline Lansing. Ever since the DNR started using those adhesive stickers as kill tags for deer, it's been very confusing how hunters are supposed to attach those tags to the deer. Not to mention the number of tags that have been lost because they've pulled off. But finally, the DNR has come up with a solution. License agents are now giving out plastic cards called tag backers when you buy your license. Well, after you notch out your tag, you fold the two sides around the tag backer, tie it off with a quarter wire to the deer's antler or leg. Well, this appears to be the best way, so far, to use these computerized stickers as kill tags. I'm just as tired of reporting about new wildlife diseases as I'm sure you are of hearing about them, but I think you need to know what's going on. From Pennsylvania, at least 30 dead deer have been found near the West Virginia border. Biologists think it may be a hemorrhagic disease similar to blue tongue disease, which is spread by flies and gnats. 2 of the deer have been sent to a USDA lab for diagnosis. Most of the diseases that have been showing up are affecting birds and animals, but fish are affected too. And from La Crosse, Wisconsin, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service reports that the largemouth bass virus, called LMBV, that killed thousands of largemouth bass in the South, has now reached Wisconsin and Minnesota. LMBV seems to only affect largemouth bass and poses no threats to humans. Well, these stories and more are found in the Michigan Outdoor News, which comes out every 2 weeks, has news and information for sportsmen, things we think you should know.
This year, we have had fewer entries for the deer than any other year I can remember, almost going back to the early 80s. So I don't know what our big spike night is going to be like, but you're on it.
Oh, good. Great.
Good, great.
Yep.
You betcha.
Yeah,
Let's talk about this monster spike. And it is a monster spike.
I mean, there's not an awful lot to say. I mean, I knew there was a couple bucks out there where I was at, and I got in the spot probably an hour before light opening morning for shotgun season, and he got in there probably about 15 minutes after me, and I had to wait a good 45 minutes to get a shot. And I mean that's about it.
That's about it. But for such a droll story, was it fun?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very. In fact, it was probably one of my most memorable. It meant a lot to me because I had the weird thing happen that I've never done. I've missed before, but this time when I missed, the deer didn't run, and I didn't know I missed. He was in grass that was probably chest deep on me, so it was just his head and neck sticking out of the grass.
With these.
With these, and about 60 yards, and I misguessed on the shoulder, and he stood there and just stared at me. I was in a tree about 20 foot up, and I had a bolt-action shotgun, and I'm waiting for him to fall. He never fell. He just stared at me. So I went to bolt too slow, and I jammed. And he's just staring at me, and I go, God, jeez, what do I do? So, 2 or 3 minutes after I straightened my gun around, he's still staring at me, and I just shot him in the neck.
Wow, so you missed him the first shot.
Yeah, absolutely, by a mile.
Well, that's a real memory, I tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, that is very cool.
It's not my biggest one either, before you asked to. It's
Well,
not my smallest either.
Congratulations to Nicholas Mason from Wixom. How about that? 2 points. Big spike night. Way to go. Way too big to be one of mine, but this is a great spike. 11 3/4 inch tines, 13-inch spread. And this was Mike Fonestock from Carlton. Got this in Osceola County.
Yep. It was opening morning. I was about 9:15. I was watching 3 does, and I was watching to the right, and I grunted a couple times, and I looked to the left, and here he come out.
Any idea how old this one was?
A year and a half, they said.
And there are some groups of hunters who say, "Oh, you shouldn't shoot those. They'll grow up and they'll get bigger antlers."
Well, it didn't have no problem with me.
Well, I mean, it's your deer. You take it when you want. It is a great spike. And what inspired you to get it mounted?
It was just a big spike, so I cut deer up for on the side, and I know a taxidermist, so he did it for me.
Oh, that's cool. So you're a butcher, deer butcher.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a real butcher too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What now? It used to be years ago. They had little diagrams on how to butcher a deer and make it like a fake steer, where you'd have little teeny T-bone steaks and stuff you couldn't hardly recognize. And now it's gotten to be more boning out. Is that true?
Boning. Most was boning beef, yeah. It all comes in a box now. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different.
So how much you charge?
$55.
Yeah, that seems to be about standard.
Mm-hmm. We're all boneless, our deer.
Oh, well, that's really a good deal.
The best part I got is a woman partner. Right back there in the red.
And this gets you some points?
Yeah, a couple points.
Okay, well, good for you. Mike Fonestock from Carlton, way to go. He's got points, 2 points for his buck. Look at this. We're going to call this a spike, even though it has... That is not a point, is it?
I think they counted it as one. I'm not sure.
No, but we're going to get you on big spike night.
Okay.
So we'll call it a spike with this. It's got to be the widest spread. Spread is 18 1/4 inches from there to there, huh?
Yep.
Well, this is Deanna Gagne from Escanaba, all the way from the Yoop. Yes, indeed. A Yooper. Yooper girl, 14 years old.
Yes. It was my first time hunting. It was the day after homecoming. I went out with my dad. And
Not to homecoming.
no, not to homecoming. Hunting. And it was really rainy. I wanted to go out in the morning, but couldn't. So we waited till the afternoon. And then we seen some does coming in. And they kind of got hidden in between the apple trees. And we were out at my grandma's. And then we seen this walking out. And there was a small 6-point, but I decided to take this because it's very interesting looking, and I thought it would just be cool to say that I got it.
It is. It is really neat. And you said this is your first time hunting?
Yeah, my first time. So I was pretty excited that I got a buck the first time.
I guess. Was your dad with you in the blind?
Yeah, my dad was with me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So have you taken this? You don't have show and tell.
No, but I brought pictures into my classroom and showed all my guy friends, and they were like, "No, you didn't shoot that." And they were like, "Yeah, your dad shot it for you." I was like, "No." So
Well, that's
I don't
something
know.
else.
Made a pretty good story for my friends and stuff, and considering that I'm a girl and I shot it, they were pretty proud of me.
Well, I think we all are. Now, do you wear contacts or you just have those gorgeous green eyes?
No, I wear colored contacts. My eyes are brown.
Oh. Well, I bet they're a gorgeous brown anyway. Deanna Gagne, that's a great story. Awesome buck,
Thank
and
you.
you may have the biggest one on Big Spike Night.
All right,
Way to go.
thank you.
This week's featured county for the Fish and Game Hall of Fame is Mason County. Mason County is right here on Lake Michigan shoreline. The biggest town is Ludington, and the biggest inland lake is Hamlin Lake. And although some nice deer do come out of Mason County, it's really known for its big salmon. Mason County, land of the big king salmon, also has some pretty darn big bucks. And next week we'll be featuring Misaki, but right? Is that right, Misaki?
Yeah. Got a letter from a viewer who isn't too wild about this Sportsman in the Law segment. Listen to this. After watching part of your slumping show on October 24th, I couldn't believe what you said about conservation officers, what they can do and cannot do. I have a strong dislike for poachers and violators. You should too. A CO's job is hard enough without pulling crap like you profess on them. Ever since you got your alleged law degree, you seem to think you're an expert on Michigan hunting and fishing laws. Well, a good friend of mine is a CO, one of the best. I've been on patrol with him a few times, and if he didn't ask questions without reasonable cause, he wouldn't have caught the many violators that he has. Only people who have something to hide would not let a CO inspect their catch. You should know that. After all, you are a lawyer. That was from Dan Pike in Flint. Well, Dan, now that you've had your say, let me comment on a few of your comments. You said, ever since you got your alleged law degree, you seem to think you're an expert on Michigan hunting and fishing laws. Yeah, I do think I'm an expert because my law degree here isn't alleged, it's for real. It represents 3 years at Cooley Law School in Lansing, and those words there, cum laude, that means I graduated with honors. And this degree does qualify me as an expert in law, and I'm particularly adept and versed in Michigan hunting and fishing laws. Now, on to your letter. You say, that you have a strong dislike for poachers and violators, and I should have that same dislike. Well, let's take a second here and talk about this dislike. I have strong dislikes for what many people do, but that doesn't mean I dislike the people personally. For example, conservation officers that act like Gestapo. I mean, I don't dislike these COs as persons, but I strongly dislike how they abuse their power. And prosecutors who square off against my clients the way they do. I don't dislike those prosecutors personally, but I tell you what, I fight them as hard as I can in court. And you use the term violators and poachers, but what are you talking about? Is somebody who sets their shotgun on the back of the tailgate of their truck, is that a violator? Or somebody who's using legal equipment and hasn't even caught a fish, but a CO writes them a ticket for attempted snagging? You know, we have so many stupid, ridiculous fish and game laws on the books that I have a hard time condemning people who get pinched for violating some of these, what I consider to be unnecessary and nitpicky regulations. I just can't see that they are poachers or violators. I mean, some of these laws shouldn't even be on the books in the first place. Now, somebody, though, who out of season whacks a deer at night under a spotlight and sells the meat, okay, that's a poacher. But even then, you know, just because I don't approve of that behavior doesn't mean that I dislike that person. The way I see it, all this name calling and disliking of people who disagree about regulations in particular creates a really big problem in the outdoors. It isn't necessary. And rather than taking up your attitude, which seems to be persecute and prosecute, I prefer the traditional value of live and let live. But your letter, you know, really explains why you're at my throat. You say, a good friend of mine is a CO. Well, I got to tell you, the relatively few negative letters I get on this Sportsman in the Law segment come from good friends of COs and DNR employees, and I can understand that. But I don't understand the rest of your statement. You said if he didn't ask questions without reasonable cause, he wouldn't have caught the many violators that he has. Well, now hold it. You know, you said you dislike violators, and so do I, but in that group, I include conservation officers who violate the United States Constitution and who think it's okay if they break the law as long as they're trying to chase somebody else who's breaking the law. And I'm really a lot more concerned about a CO who violates constitutional rights than I am about a guy who has 3 gallons of corn out on the ground rather than 2. My attitude is that when COs or cops or governmental officials abuse their power intentionally and break the law of the land, I think they should be punished like everybody else. Why shouldn't COs have to abide by laws that protect the rights of citizens? Well, and finally, you said only people who have something to hide would not let a CO inspect their catch. Well, I respectfully disagree. Being a lawyer, one thing I've learned is that if you haven't done anything wrong, submitting to a search can open you up to problems you didn't even know existed. I mean, for example, you could have a fish in your cooler that got a cut or a nick on it some way, and what if a CO comes up and says, you snagged that fish? That's what that nick is. Or what if he finds a turkey feather from last spring in your trunk, and he says, aha, you just poached a turkey, didn't you? I mean, why would you want to let a CO who disrespects you and the law by accusing you of something you didn't do and then conducting an illegal search, why would you want to let a CO like that come onto your property, go through your belongings to see if he can't find something suspicious so he can write a ticket? I mean, that's not America. Innocent people do not have to prove their innocence in this country. And I think it's a slap in the face when a CO treats a sportsman that way. So in a nutshell, let me tell you my position on the law here. A conservation officer in Michigan must have evidence that gives him probable cause to believe a crime has been committed to go onto private property. And I'm not talking just about a hunch that maybe somebody has done something. He has to know what law has been broken, by whom, and what evidence he's going to find. Otherwise, a CO has to respect private property just like everybody else. And for Mr. Pike, who says a CO's job is hard enough without pulling crap like you profess on him, well, I don't think upholding the Constitution is exactly pulling crap. And I guess that's my final word in this Sportsman and the Law on this slumping television show. Of course, a big function of the Practical Sportsman Foundation is education and getting information to people. That's why I'm going to spend this Saturday, especially from 11 to 1, right here at the museum. For people who want to come in and ask questions, I'm going to be talking about different aspects of the law: recreational trespass, CCWs, the power of conservation officers, what to do if you get arrested, what do you do in these different situations. So it's a free seminar. So come on to the museum this Saturday. Get you ready for deer season, at least as the law goes. And we have coming up a week from Sunday night.
Right, Mill Creek down in Dexter there. We'll be at the Buck Pole.
That's always spectacular. Now, deer season opens on Friday. We're going to be doing this on Sunday night, at the end of the weekend. So you and I and John Ford and Tim Farragon, we have a chance to get out and hunt.
Well, and hopefully we have our bucks there to hang on the pole. But
whatever, we're going to have a good time deer season. Anyway, get ready for deer season. Do your honey-do list this weekend. Of course, get out if you can. It's a great place to be.
we'll see you next week.
I got this one at Buckstop Taxidermy. Actually, I dropped the real fish off to get mounted. The guy's taxidermy shop burned down to the ground, so I had to get a replica of it.
Oh.
And I got shorted on the girth and the length big time.
This down here.
It's number 5 in the state.
Well, I tell you, they got enough rainbows on it. I've never seen one with a double rainbow there.
Well, if you catch them big enough, they have 2 stripes on them.
I see. So this is the replica. Well, now, that's a good comeback on that.